'Twas the night before Christmas, when all around the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama and Mama and her what? This is so scuffed. Okay, everyone, give me a second. Alright, everyone, I'll try my best. A mama and her... I don't know what that word is. And I, in my cap, had settled in our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of a midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vix, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner, on Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away, all. As dry leaves that were before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and Saint Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and the pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney Saint Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from head to his foot, and all his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung over his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples so merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His true little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, when turned with a jerk, and laid his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang on his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like a down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Alright, everyone. Our Christmas story telling. I apologize for the mistakes, but I enjoyed reading it. I hope you all did too. Alright, everyone. Nice and cozy. I hope you are. I'm really glad that you guys did. Well, this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, so I'd like to take a minute and wait just a tad. I'll tell you how I became the first mom of Twitch chat. Oh, nerdy. You're so silly. Yes, of course it is. It's for everyone. Alright, everyone. Once upon a time, most terribly cold it was. It snowed and was nearly quite dark. An evening, the last evening of the year. In this cold and darkness, there went along the street a poor little girl, bareheaded and with naked feet. When she left home, she had slippers on, it was true. But what was the good of that? They were very large slippers, which her mother had hitherto worn. So large they were, and the poor little thing lost them as she scuffled away through the streets. Oh my god. Because of two carriages that rolled by dreadfully fast. One slipper was nowhere to be found, the other had laid a hold off by an urchin, and off he ran with it. He thought it would do oh my god, what is the word? I apologize for the scuffness. He thought it would do captively for a cradle when wait, oh my god, my brain is dying. Let me try this again. He thought it would do captively for a cradle when he someday or other should have children himself. So the little maiden walked on with her tiny naked feet. They were quite red and blue from cold. She carried a quantity of matches in an old apron. When she held a bundle of them in her hand, nobody had bought anything of her the whole livelong day. No one had given her a single farthing. She crept along, trembling with cold and hunger. A very picture of sorrow, the poor little thing. The flakes of snow covered her long, fair hair, which fell in beautiful curls around her neck. But of all that, of course, she never once now thought. From all the windows the candles were gleaming, and it smelt so delicious of roast goose. For now it was New Year's Eve, yes, of that she thought. In a corner, formed by two houses of which one advanced more than the other, she seated herself down and cowered together. Her little feet had drawn close up to her, but she grew colder and colder, and to go home she did not venture, for she had not sold any matches and could not bring a farthing of money. For her father would certainly get blows, and at home it was so cold, for above her she had only the roof, through which the wind whistled, even though the largest cracks were stopped with straw and rags. Her little hands were almost numbed with cold. Oh, a match might offer her a world of comfort, if she only dared to take a single one out of the bundle, draw it against the wall, and warm her fingers by it. She drew one out. Whisk, how it blazed, how it burnt. It was a warm, bright flame, like a candle. As she held her hands over it, it was a wonderful light. It seemed really to the little maiden as though she were sitting before a large iron stove with burnished brass feet and a brass ornament at top. The fire burned with such blessed influence, it warmed so delightfully. The little girl had already stretched out her feet to warm them too, but the small flame went out. The small flame went out, and the stove vanished. She had only remains of the burnt-out match in her hand. She rubbed another against the wall. It burned brightly, where the light fell on the wall. There the wall became transparent like a veil, so she could see into the room. On the table she was spread a snow-white tablecloth. On it was a splendid porcelain service, and the roast goose was steaming famously, with its own stuffing of apple and dried plums. And what was still more capital to behold was the goose hopped down the dish and reeled about on the floor with a knife and fork in its breast, till it came up to the poor little girl. When the match went out and nothing but the thick, cold, damp wall was left behind, she lighted another match, and now she was sitting under the most magnificent Christmas tree. It was still a little larger and more decorated than the one she had seen through the glass door in the rich merchant's house. Thousands of lights were burning on the green branches. The gaily colored pictures, such as she had seen in the shop windows, looked down upon her. The little maiden stretched out her hand towards them when the match went out. The lights of the Christmas tree rose higher and higher, and she saw them now as stars in heaven. One fell down and formed a long trail of fire. "Someone is just dead," said the little girl, for her grandmother was the only person who had truly loved her, and who was there now no more, had told her, when a star falls, a soul ascends to God. She grew another match against the wall. It was again light, and in the lustre there stood an old grandmother, so bright and radiant, so mild, with such an expression of love. "Grandmother," cried the little one, "oh, take me with you. You go away when the match burns out, and you vanish like the warm stove, like the delicious roast, like the magnificent Christmas tree." And she rubbed the whole bundle of matches quickly against the wall, for she wanted to be quite sure of keeping her grandmother near her. And the matches gave such a brilliant light, like it was brighter than at noonday. Never formerly had the grandmother had been so beautiful and so tall. She took the little maiden on her arm, and both flew into the brightness, and in the joy so high, so very high. And then above was neither cold nor hunger nor anxiety. There were only with God. But in the corner, at the cold hour of dawn, sat the poor girl with rosy cheeks and a smiling mouth, leaning against the wall, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. Stiff and stark sat the child, with her matches, of which one bundle had been burnt. She wanted to warm herself, people said. No one had the slightest suspicion of what beautiful things she had seen. No one ever dreamed of the splendor in which she, with her grandmother, had entered on the joys of a new year. And that is the end. Yes, that's the little match girl. I'm sorry, everyone. It's a sad story. But she, at the end, was able to, be free from that sadness. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Are we here just to suffer? I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize, but thank you for joining me, and thank you for staying by